It kind of sounds weird. I don't know if it's on the other end or. Can you hear me? It doesn't sound like usual. I'm not hearing anything coming out on there. Yeah, I know we're coming on. It just sounds a little weird. I don't know. All right. Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Jersey Shore podcast. That's SURE because we are always sure. Brought to you by the APN, America's Pulse Network, coming to you live from First Amendment Live Studios. So this is where we cut through the noise and get straight to the truth. Before we dive into today's main topics, I want to quickly highlight something incredible. If you guys have seen it, Mark Wahlberg's new app and Chris Pratt, they have the commercials out there. It's called Hallow. It's a faith-based meditation and prayer app that's helping people reconnect with their spirituality at a time when our culture is doing everything it can to tear it away. And I think that's very important to get that back. And we've been removing institutions and Judeo-Christian values from all of our institutions. But now it's nice to see Hollywood people that are pushing this forward, because Hollywood actually does the opposite for the most part. So so we need more of this. We need more faith. We need more family. We need more truth. That's what APN is about. That's what Jersey Shore is about. So, and that leads us to what's happening in the country now. The Democrats just took a massive black eye after their pathetic reaction to President Trump's address to Congress. Instead of standing up for the American people, they sat there scowling as Trump laid out a clear vision for restoring this country. They don't know how to handle him. He's moving way too fast, and he's undoing all of their failed policies, and they're scrambling. He has them scrambling. Every time they think they have a new attack, he already is 10 steps ahead. They're watching their grip and power slip through their fingers, and they know it. And speaking of slipping through their fingers, New Jersey. Yes, you heard it right here. Trump lost New Jersey by only 5 points in November. Only 5 points. And New Jersey's going to be flipped red. And with this year's gubernatorial race, we are closer than ever to flipping the state red. Scott Pressler, one of the hardest working grassroots activists in the country, is already here, registering voters and getting boots on the ground. The momentum was real. And if we want a governor who will actually fight for New Jersey, there's only one guy who's up to the job. And this is the first time I'm coming out and saying it. Bill Spady has my full support. He understands the people of the state. He's unapologetic and standing up to the corrupt establishment, and he actually has a vision to fix the mess the Democrats have made here in New Jersey. New Jersey, this is our moment. The red wave is rising, and the fight starts now. Stay tuned. We've got a lot more to cover. So And I want to introduce a very special guest. He actually ran for U.S. Senate, and we'll let him decide if he's going to say if he's going to run again or not. His name is Justin Murphy. So let's bring him on.
Hey, Damon, how are you?
Hey, Justin, I just wanted to introduce yourself, and we'll go to our first segment. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Well, I can't thank you enough for making time for me and having me on your podcast, which is doing very well from what I understand. So very appreciated. Happy to be here.
You hearing him?
What's that?
Are you hearing him?
Yes. So, no, I'm sorry. My producer was asking if I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah,
So,
happy to be here, and we appreciate you making time for us, and very happy to be here.
okay. I'm glad you came on. I heard you speak many times, and you know what you're talking about, and I know you're involved a lot in Jersey politics, and you're helping to flip New Jersey red as well. So we're going to just go to our first segment real quick, and then we'll kick it off from there.
Sure, absolutely.
Getting on a Wahlburger, or are you going to go back to the other? You going to go on to your model or continue? Or Wahlburger video?
So
that time of year again.
So Wahlburger video.
Hey, buddy, you leading Lent on Hallow this year?
You bet, brother. Stay prayed up.
Yeah, you know it. Hey, Father, you joining Lent again this year?
Of course. Stay prayed up.
All right, Father. Sister, you joining us again on the app this year, right?
I am, Mark. I can't wait to join you guys on Pray 40.
Love it. Hey, Chris,
Yo, what's up, Mark?
you want to join us on Hallow this year?
Join you on Hallow? I was hoping you'd ask. Yes.
Stay prayed up.
I'll stay prayed up. You said it. I love it. This is good. Can I say that?
Check it out. Download Hallow today.
Nice.
So are you familiar with that app? I just saw it recently. I didn't know
Vaguely.
anything about it.
Yeah, vaguely, Damon. Of course, we all know who Mark Wahlberg is and the success that he's achieved in his life through hard work and talent. And he's Catholic like me, and I think you.
See? Yeah.
I'm just recently aware of Hallow. I've seen it on TV, the advertisements, and look, I think it's great. I think America needs a reconnection to some Judeo-Christian values that really founded our country, that have served us well. They've been abandoned, certainly by those on the left and by certain institutions. I mean, we are guaranteed the right in this country for our First Amendment to exercise our conscience when it comes to religion. And sadly, I think, Damon, you're seeing in the Democrat Party, I was reading some statistics the other day, and a very large number of Democrats, almost half that voted in the 2024 election, almost half of them are self-identified agnostic or atheistic or not spiritual at all. I mean, it's the opposite with the Republican Party. A very high number of Republicans identify as some practicing religion. So, that's also a divide that we have between the parties and in our country. And, it's telling. I think it's profound. It can have an impact when people fill positions of government and power and institutions, whether or not they feel any type of connection to the First Amendment freedoms that we have. So it's good to see someone from Hollywood like Mark Wahlberg, a success, expounding, the virtues of prayer and spirituality. And I know he's a Catholic and he doesn't force it on anyone. No one has a right to do that. But we need to, I think there's been an effort to drive religion out of the public sphere, and that we should push back against.
No, I agree. And I always tell people, like you said, Mark Wahlberg doesn't push it on anyone, but I tell people all the time, you don't really. It's up to you. You don't have to believe in God. You don't have to be Catholic and all that.
Mhm.
But if you live by the values that Judeo-Christian values teaches, and you could be an atheist if you want. I mean, it's up to you. I'm not going to push religion on you. But if you live by those values that are set, that's what made us a great country. That's
Sure.
that's what separated us from the rest of the world and made it, and we led by example with that.
Yeah. Charlie Kirk is very articulate on this matter. Charlie Kirk is very articulate on the way that faith and the Christian faith in particular really impacted many of our founding fathers. Maybe not all, but many of them that were impacted by the Christian faith. And there was certainly divergence. You had Baptists, you had some Deitists, and but you had men that believed in a God Almighty and nature's God, and that it was providence that really started our country, that saved our country, and thankfully for the past 240, I think, 8 years have been guiding our country. So we need to continue to do that. We need a robust and vibrant religious marketplace in this country. Again, we don't have to force anything on anybody. If nobody wants to, you want to be Catholic, be Catholic. I love being Catholic, but I don't push it on anyone. But we should defend religion in the public sphere. And, it pervades really the entire culture. You talk about school choice for parents. Well, that incorporates Catholic schools, parochial schools, Christian schools, and private schools. And then you talk about the collision it has with tax dollars. But you know what? People say, oh, well, there shouldn't be government money going toward. It's not government money. It's Catholic parents paying taxes to the government, paying property taxes to fund an education system that they are stuck funding. They may not like or agree with, but they like to send their child to another school. The dollars should follow the student. The dollars for education should follow the child. So religion is, it's I don't really think it's on the decline in America. Some people say, well, we have the highest number of atheists, the highest number of agnostics, and we do. There's more people that have just, I think, looked at institutions generally, government, religious, and it's been a bumpy ride the past 10, 20, 30 years. Government has really lost faith, lost a confidence shock in the people of this country with the waste, fraud, abuse, and the corruption. And of course, my Catholic Church with the sexual abuse scandal. So I think all of these institutions that were serving our country and facilitating our constitutional republic took a little bit of a hit. And so it's time to not abandon them, but it's time to make sure that they can recover and continue to serve the country as well as they have up until this time.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's become pretty hard because, like when we saw in the last administration, they weaponized the Department of Justice. I mean, you had people that were praying in front of abortion clinics
Yeah.
getting arrested and sentenced to prison,
Yeah.
which was unbelievable.
Sad.
Yeah, if somebody wants to pray in front of an abortion clinic, go ahead and pray. That's fine with me. I mean, you should. I mean, I'm pro-life.
Damon, there was a huge disparity. The federal legislation at issue that the Biden administration kind of wore out was called the FACE Act, access to these institutions. But, there was such a disparity in charging people who were praying outside of an abortion clinic when we knew the facts were that dozens, if not over 100, Catholic churches, pregnancy crisis centers, Christian centers, they were attacked and vandalized and threatened and arsoned. Very few people were ever held responsible or accountable. So there was a real disparity in how the law was applied. But that's the Biden administration. They took weaponizing the judicial system and weaponizing our legal system to new heights, unfortunately. And I think it was one reason of many that they lost in 2024.
No, absolutely. That's definitely why they lost. American people woke up and they said, "What's going on here?"
Oh,
But the problem is that
yeah.
the Democrats, they broke that glass, and I just fear it can't be unbroken. But then if Republicans try to use the same type of you know same type of direction that they went, if we were to say Trump pardoned people, he pardoned a lot of the J6ers, but Biden did a blanket pardon for people that weren't even indicted or charged with anything.
Yeah.
But then it's like it's different. Oh, I can't believe Trump did this, but hold on, look at the last administration.
It raises a lot of questions whether or not a pardon can be used in a kind of prophylactic way, where it says, well, here, I pardon you. Go out and break the law if you want your pardon. It doesn't work that way. You have to be, I believe the intent of it was you have to be arraigned or indicted or charged or convicted. Okay. And then you can either be commuted or pardoned by the president for federal crimes, not state. Although I think all state governors also have the same pardon power for state crimes, criminal. So, yeah, it seems everything that you do is a double-edged sword, and it can wind up in a courtroom today. But, it's indicative of the division that we right now have in the country.
Yeah, I know. And like I said, they're the ones that broke that glass, and I'm afraid it can't be unbroken. So hopefully we can get it back together.
Yeah.
And, like I don't know if you know, I used to be a Democrat. For when I'm growing up, I was told to be a Democrat. I'm a union construction worker. You got to vote Democrat. They're for the workers. And then I tell people I didn't leave the Democrat Party. They left me. They went crazy. So, once I had kids, I started really paying attention to everything that was
Sure.
going on. And I'm like,
Yeah,
hey,
your life changes. Well, look,
yeah,
Ronald Reagan was a Democrat.
that's right. He was.
And a very liberal one at that. I mean, back in the 30s, as a young boy, young man, he was buying heavily into FDR and really thought that communism sounded pretty cool, especially when you go through the Depression and so those effects firsthand. But, Reagan was a Democrat for a long time. And then he had, I think, a very genuine transformation out of that ideology, and he embraced conservatism because he He was not running for office when he did this. It's not like he said, "Oh, I need votes. I'm going to switch my party and philosophy." He did it when he was, I guess, in the 40s and 50s, when he started to see, what communism really was and how oppressive it was and what a disaster it was. And I'll tell you a funny story. Ronald Reagan was sworn in January of 1981, and he took over a very bad economy from Jimmy Carter. We had double-digit inflation, double-digit interest rates. We were demoralized with the Russians invading Afghanistan and the Iranian hostage crisis, and we had oil shocks in the 70s and a misery index. And things were very bad. And as a young boy, I remember that. And Reagan would come to the podium and do his press conferences, and he would basically blame, listen, I want to do X, Y, and Z, but it's going to take us a while to get out of this mess. And for the first year of the Reagan presidency, Damon, things were pretty still hard. They were still tough. His plan didn't really kick in until the last quarter of 1982, when you saw inflation come down and job growth start to grow, start to take over. So he was he was giving a press conference one day, and ABC News reporter Sam Donaldson, who was very well known, was yelling out to him when the conference was over, Mr. President, you blame Democrats for this and you blame Democrats for that, and you've been president for a year now. Do you take any of the blame? And he looked at Sam Donaldson and he quipped at him. He said, "Yes, Sam, I do take a lot of the blame because for many years I voted Democrat." So he just kind of just these quick-witted jabs. But he was that's people say, well, one of my big supporters out here in Tabernacle, who's now on our school board, thankfully, she was a Democrat up until recently, and it was the children. When they see what's happening to the children today, man, the light bulbs go off. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. This is not what I want for our culture.
Yeah, I know. You're absolutely right. Do you see what you just described with Reagan back in 81, 82? I was born in 81, by the way. So, and Reagan happened to be my favorite president because I followed him, as I grew up.
He's
do you see any similarities today?
My hero.
Do you see any similarities today? What you just described with coming into the bad inflation, and then taking a year or so to get it back in order. I think Trump's following Reagan's playbook.
He is, sure. No,
Yeah.
to a large degree, he is. He is, Damon. He's talking about restraining government, restraining the size and scope and expense and power of it, reducing the tax burden to spark growth. He's got some different issues. I mean, immigration was nowhere near as bad back then as it is now. But Trump is, I think, in large part, basically domestically, and how he can want to kickstart the economy, and things are bad today too. We're coming out of a 4-year real rut of high inflation. We had the highest inflation under Biden in 40 years, so that has to come down. But one thing, Damon, that is unfortunate for this. Back in the 80s, pre-computer chip, before we kind of jumped into the electronic and computer age, the standard thought in academia and with economists is that when the government implemented a policy, tax cut, tax increase, new rule, regulation, whatever, it usually took anywhere from 6 to 18 months before you felt it. But today the lag time is much condensed because of how fast the information age moves. People, businesses, ideas, capital, thoughts, and communication. So I think 3 to 6 months, 3 to 9 months, you'll probably see and probably feel a lot of the effects of what he's trying to do with inflation. And growth and job growth. And there's been some very big announcements of huge investments coming into our economy, hundreds of billions of dollars, if not into the trillions now at this point, because we're going to have a president that's pro-business and friendly. And, that helps the middle class and working poor, as we all know. Jobs, middle class income, economic security, tax base, more people paying taxes means more money going into Social Security and Medicare to keep those programs solvent. And fortunately, because of the information age, I don't think there's as long a period of time before you start to feel the results from those policies.
No, you're right about that. And we're going to touch on that even further in our next segment. So we're going to move on to the next segment in a second. I just have to advertise this book here, Bone Deep Blues. So Bone Deep Blues is ripped from today's headlines by New Jersey author Brian O'Callahan. This book is an award-winning international bestseller that delivers action, suspense, and humor. This story follows J.D. Walker, a former Navy SEAL turned blues musician, as he confronts human trafficking network led by a figure known as the Ice Queen. When those close to JD are taken, he finds himself in a high-stakes chess game. An auction to sell his brother's fiancée is about to take place. Brian O'Callahan, a former police detective from New Jersey, by the way, he's local. So, former police detective, he combines personal experiences and extensive research, weaving in his passion for blues music. Bone Deep Blues kicks off the J.D. Walker action series and tackles the pressing issue of human trafficking with well-developed characters that spring to life in a fast-paced narrative. This exhilarating book is now available for in print and digital form on Amazon.com and thebigdogmedia.com. So, Bone Deep Blues, a J.D. Walker venture by Brian R. O'Callahan, and by the way, it has a 4.8 out of 5-star reviews. So we'll roll this
From
clip
the mind
on
of
the next
Brian
segment.
O'Callahan.
Buy it today at Amazon.com.
Enter the dark world of betrayal, kidnapping, and human trafficking. Verified readers call Bone Deep Blues powerful and engaging, gripping, well-written, exciting.
Buy it today at Amazon.com.
A must heart-pounding read.
Amazon verified reviews say it's a super storyline, excellent, thrilling.
Experience the magic. Order now from Amazon.com. Choose from digital, paperback, or hardcover edition.
Generation fighters take the stand. From shore to shore we reclaim the land. Grit and glory in every strand. In Jersey Shore we make our stand.
All right, Justin. So we're back. So we're in the next segment, and this is called Black Eye Dems. And the reason I named it that is because I think they got a hell of a black eye. What was it last Tuesday? Trump's address to Congress when they wouldn't stand up and applaud. I mean, and Trump put them in. I talked about it last week. Trump put them in between a rock and a hard place because when he came out and he said, "There's nothing I can say, nothing I can do to make them stand up and applaud." They
Agreed.
cure cancer and all that. And if they would have stood up and applauded, then they would agree with them. But if they didn't, then they looked like they were anti-American. And we talked about that last week on the show as well. But that's why I'm calling it Black Eye Dems.
Self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Self-inflicted. And yeah, I agree with you, Damon. You are correct. When the president went off script, obviously, and he said to the Dems in the chamber, you can't even share a moment for this country, for its future, whether or not we disagree on how to get where we need to go. He was right to say, listen, whatever I do, you won't support me. You won't agree to it. You won't support it. You won't try to make it better. You won't contribute. And he was right for pointing that out, because right now they're the minority party. And as a minority party, you have to figure out, are we the loyal opposition or are we the resistance? Or do we just say, here, you do everything. And if it goes sour, it's on you. So I think they're grappling with that. But he was right to point that out. I agree. That was one of the brighter moments of the night. And the DJ stole the show. The young boy there with brain cancer. And you got Dems, for the most part, that couldn't even share in that moment for the country. That was an American moment, for that kid. And then because they're so conditioned with Trump derangement syndrome, if Donald Trump wants it or does it, we oppose it. And it doesn't care what it is.
They don't care if it's good for the country or if it's something, a special moment for a young boy battling brain cancer. They don't care that Trump freed the guy from Russia. He was there with his 95-year-old mother.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't stand and cheer for that.
You know what, Damon, I can tell you, when I saw that American that was being held by Russia, and he's back now with his 95-year-old mother, I can't imagine how they both felt being able to see each other again. I cared for my mother intently with care needs for like 8 years longer, about almost 10 years. And, just to know that bond and relationship and to think with him in a jail in Russia that she may never see her son again, and him thinking in a jail in Russia that I may never see my family and my mother again. That was a nice moment too, that they were able to be reunited and spend some time together before, the mother's in her 90s, God bless her, before one of them has to be called home to heaven. But, good moments like that. It shows you've got to incorporate the heart and soul of this country when you address the nation like this. And to see Democrats act the way they did, and how'd they start off? Al Green, liberal congressman who couldn't do enough to impeach Donald Trump before, okay, picking up his cane, pointing it at the president, screaming and interrupting to the point where he had to be drug out of there by Capitol Hill police and security. Sergeant at Arms had to remove him from the chamber. It's embarrassing if you're a Democrat. You can't, it's embarrassing. And then for the jeering all night, and you can't share in the moment with DJ, it's a self-inflicted black eye. And you know what? They're going to keep doubling down. They'll be on the wrong side of the issues. And that's a benefit for the Republican Party and America as a whole.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I don't know if they can dig themselves out of this hole that they're in right now. I really don't.
Yeah.
And
well, let me share. Listen, I've been involved, Damon, in politics since 1988, and I've learned many things. One of the potent messages and pieces of wisdom is that everything in politics is temporary. There is nothing in politics that's permanent. Nothing. I don't care. I mean, some things last long, like Nancy Pelosi in Congress, but there is temporary. I mean, you think they're down and out now, but you know what? They could pick up a few House seats in 2026, and guess what? They're the majority party in the House now. Boom. Brakes go on the Trump agenda, and we got 2 years of gridlock, deadlock, and nothing, which is what's important. That's important. The reason why Republicans and Donald Trump, they really need to get his agenda enacted ASAP.
In 2 years. Yeah, yes, 2 years.
ASAP. I mean, you go into the midterms, the Senate will probably stay with us, but there's a real possibility we lose the House. And that's what that's going to be is Al Green again was chairing a committee, and now he gets to impeach Donald Trump again. Now, will they be rewarded for it in 2028? Probably not, but they don't care. They're so rabid with Trump derangement syndrome, and they don't obviously care about the country. That would be a disaster. But everything, Damon, in politics is temporary. That's why there's always another election. Whether you win or lose, you got to work hard to stay. You got to work hard to get back in the game, and they will. They're very tenacious. Democrats will. They never seem to be out of money. Where that comes from, I've never seen a Democrat campaign broke for some strange reason. They always seem to have money.
Yeah,
probably do a segment on that.
Yeah. I definitely could do a segment on that. Where the money comes from and who it is. I could go. That's a rabbit hole we could dive deep into.
Yeah, look, you ran for the House of Representatives twice, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, right now we're hanging by what, a 3 or 4 seat majority. So there's like no room to. And normally the party that's out of power does fairly well in the midterms. Whoa. So we really up our game this coming 2026 for the midterms, and we've got to hold the House. I mean, that has to be priority. If we lose that House, not only will we not get anything done for Donald Trump for the last 2 years of his administration, but we're going to have to go through the impeachment game again, because they will come up with anything. They're so consumed with hate and anger toward this man. They would love nothing more than to try to destroy him yet again.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. I mean, one thing about mainstream media, when we found out when Doge started, because we'll get into that as well.
Sure.
When they found out that our taxpayer dollars were going towards mainstream media, so they're being bought by the Biden administration.
Mm-hmm.
So many people do not trust mainstream media anymore. If you see more people turn to podcasts now, because there are regular people trying to get the truth out there. I mean, look at Trump on Joe Rogan. I mean, that was one of the big reasons that pushed him over the edge. I mean, I think he would have won anyway, but that really gave him a huge nudge going on Rogan's podcast, because people watch podcasts now. They don't trust mainstream media because they know they're bought and they're paid for it.
It helped. I think it absolutely helped him. And as I mentioned earlier, the mainstream media, the print media, your news outlets, what you want to call conventional news outlets, they are institutions that we really as a country need to facilitate our constitutional republic, democratic ideals, marketplace of ideas, exchange, debate, transparency, accountability. And right now they do none of it. Right now they're an institution that really has lost the confidence of the American people, and rightfully so. I mean, how many years did they tell us Donald Trump colluded with Russia when they knew it was a lie, total fabrication, never happened? and look at the stories that Dan Rather altered when George Bush was running for re-election in 2004 to try to damage him. I mean, they've just waded into politics and said, here, we're taking the leftist side of the argument, and that's all they expound. And it's a shame. This is why, Fox News sprung up, now Newsmax, One America Network, podcasts, social media, X,
Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore. We got everything here, which is good because we do, our constitutional republic is predicated on a free marketplace of ideas. That's our First Amendment. You need to question things. People need to question. They need to engage. They need to exchange. And I mean, well, look at the ratings for CNN and MSNBC and The View. They're in the tank, and they should be. They're not open-minded. They're intolerant. They're wrong on just many things, and they're not even-handed. Not impartial.
And they're waiting for the hammer to drop with Trump. I mean, the media, they're still trying to drive a wedge between Trump and his cabinet and Elon Musk. You heard the story coming out about Musk and Rubio, and Trump said no. They had it was just a disagreement. They just said no. They didn't want to go down the same road, but they worked it out. I mean, that's how you run things. You have the conversation, and the media try to spin it as it was a big blowout, blowout fight. And they want that to happen. They want to drive that wedge because, I mean, they're so afraid of Doge. I mean, we have the vote tomorrow, and Democrats are looking to shut the government down tomorrow. And
after complaining that we always shut the government down, but
yeah, because but what I'm looking at is they want to shut down Doge. They want to stop Elon Musk from digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and then today, I mean, Elon Musk is getting death threats, and also, I don't know if you heard, X was hacked. It was a huge hack on X. Like everyone's account went down. So who's involved with that? Is it the deep state really trying to stop Musk?
Not surprised. I mean, I'm not surprised at the death threats. I mean, Damon, you're seeing the Democrat Party. See, the Democrat Party is the party of the political class right now. Okay, that's who they are. They are no longer the party of FDR. They're no longer the party of JFK. No longer the party of the blue collar worker. And I don't have to tell you that. It's one reason you left the party. But they are the party of the political class entrenched in Washington, otherwise known as the deep state. They are. That's who they represent. That's who they're trying to protect. We still haven't seen Jeffrey Epstein's client list yet. I'm just wondering why. We have an idea who's on there: Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, and we know. But there's a reason that list is not being made public. The Democrat Party as a whole is really taking the side of the bloated, corrupted, wasteful, bureaucrat side of the aisle with the federal government. That's what they're doing. I mean, I think who was that Texas Congresswoman? Her last name is Crockett.
Yeah, Jasmine.
Very, very outspoken. When it came out that Donald Trump was thinking about floating the idea of $5,000 Doge rebate checks to people because there's so much waste being found, she's out there arguing against it. Bad idea. No good. Who needs $5,000? I do. I don't know, but I do. And a lot of Americans do. After 4 years of inflation with Joe Biden, we have record level credit card debt in this country, record level car repossessions. Just of course we need, and it's our money, by the way. So philosophically, she doesn't even understand it's the people's money that the political class has extorted, stolen, taken, and wasted. And that's you can clearly see where they're coming down on the wrong side of this issue, but they don't have a choice. They don't have a choice.
No, they don't at all. And I'm going to play a couple clips in a few minutes to go through a few things, just stuff that we cut. But what do you think with Trump on tariffs? Because I think tariffs and using them as like a weapon to get other countries to lower theirs or get them to secure the border, whatever it may be. But him going, the one thing I worry about is with Trump with his tariffs, how he's saying we're going to implement it, then we're not going to implement it, and we jump back and forth. What that does, it makes the market crazy, stock market, because investors don't know which way to go. They don't know if he's going to tariff them, then they pull it out. So the one thing I'm just afraid of is I'm fine with him using it as a weapon, as a bargaining chip. or get them to lower their tariffs. But if he actually if he keeps going back and forth, it's going to screw with the market. But if he implements them and they stay in place, I think the Democrats are going to jump all over them because it will possibly cause a recession. And even Trump was asked that question, and he said, "Well, it may." I mean, I think things are going to get worse before they get better. The number one thing that voters look at is the economy. If your wallet's hurting, and even though Trump inherited this bad economy, this high inflation, but if it doesn't change soon, then people are going to start looking at Trump and saying, "Hey, well, this is not happening." But he's playing the long game. I understand where he's going with it. I just wonder, what do you think about how the voters will react in the midterms if it doesn't turn around, if he's playing that long game, which I get it. I believe that will happen eventually, but I don't know if the voters will understand.
Well, the American people can be very patient if they want. They can also be very impatient politically, and that has to be, that's a concern if you want this administration to be a success. So I think with the midterms, Damon, if by the time the midterms, which is November of 26, if by the time that is upon us, okay, if we do not have a dynamic growing economy, if we do not have lower rates of inflation, that's going to be a huge problem for the Republican Party. Now, I'm confident, like you, that, and again, the lag time I spoke about earlier, I think 3 to 9 months, by the end of the year, I think we're fine. I think we're fine. You're right about predictability and stability with tariffs. But, I think President Trump understands something. When you really look at your economic landscape across a country or even a state, you want, understand what the computer chip has done to business, commerce, and government in this world since it's really kind of impacted everyone's life starting in the 1990s. And that is, you have to have the first two things you want to put in place is a system of taxation and a system of regulation, a regulatory schematic that rewards capital, citizens, businesses. You treat them like customers to come into your country or state, and you want them to stay. You want businesses here. Now, that's his idea with the tariffs. We're going to use tariffs to help businesses relocate here. The first thing is your system of taxation. Lower rates, simplify it. Is the regulatory schematic conducive to people coming here? Or do you have a bungled mess of red tape that everybody has to cut through? So Trump understands those two things, and that's really the driver. Now you talk about tariffs, okay? Reciprocal tariffs, I think, are fine, and they're fair. Mm-hmm. If somebody wants to hit our milk 270% from Canada, okay, well, we're going to reciprocate. Why should there be such a disparity? Why should we tariff your goods 5 or 10%, and you smack our agricultural products with in excess of 100 to 200%? So it can be used, like you mentioned, as a tool to not only inject a little more fairness in trade, but it can certainly be used to get them to be more cooperative on other issues, securing the border, fentanyl, human trafficking, and I think Trump is doing that also. So I mean, there's a lot of talk about all this, tariff, but let's remember one thing. Donald Trump used tariffs during his first term, and we had low rates of inflation. Inflation was low, and we had tariffs. And I suspect that will be the same case now, depending on how much pushback we get. I don't think other countries can really last too long in a tariff war with us because we're the ones who've been taking it on the chin. They're the ones with the high tariffs, not us. So if we raise tariffs reciprocal to their level, they're going to understand, oh, I need to lower this if I want the tariffs to come down. So you put downward pressure on them, and then hopefully everyone becomes happy at some point, and they're no longer the kind of potentially disruptive force for economies. But Trump, he understands that the system of taxation, the regulatory schematic are really the kind of bedrock principles of attracting businesses to your country. And then, which like right now, hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars of investments have already been announced from Apple, from Taiwan chip makers, which is fantastic.
Yes, I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the right thing to do. And then you work on the tariffs and you say, listen, there will be more parity. We're not going to have this. You can trash our market, open market, and then we can't have access to your market. That has to change. And that's really what he wants to do. And it's not long term. As soon as those other countries realize that they need to deal with us a little more equitably and with more fairness, they'll go away or they will be lowered. So it's not the doomsday. We had tariffs under his first term. We had low inflation because we are going to ramp up low inflation again. It's going to come from restraining government spending. It's going to come from increasing the productivity of workers by getting the economy growing. It's going to be by increasing our domestic energy production, because when you drop the price of energy, you drive down the price of everything. Some cost of making something, transporting it, retailing it. So we're in for some good days. I don't think we're close to a recession. I really don't. And I certainly don't think that the tariffs issue will get out of hand. I think, it's important that we get everything through Congress that President Trump needs for his domestic agenda as soon as possible, then just sit back and kind of let the good times roll. Economic growth, less of an intrusive government. We can work on our culture, institutions. We have a secure border now. I mean, we have operational control of our southern and northern border, and he did it in a matter of 4 to 5 weeks. I mean, and he was right to say at the State of the Union, he was right to say we didn't need congressional action. Turns out all we needed was a president willing to do
a new
it.
president.
And he's right. I mean, he's right on that in that regard. And that's, we want to be careful. Tariffs can get out of hand. And you don't want to trigger these blow up trade wars. That doesn't help anybody. But we do need to let other countries know that, you just can't have access to our markets and then restrict our products to yours. Those days have to be over.
No, you're right about that. And the goal is to get other countries to invest in our country, to bring back jobs for, to revitalize our economy.
Sure.
Because, and again, like I said, it's a long game, but for like every you said not the hundreds of billions, up to $1 trillion so far in investments with the semiconductors and all that, and that would be a great thing because we start that semiconductors over here, then we don't have to worry about China invading Taiwan and crushing. Don't crush everybody on the world stage. The semiconductors are in everything from your cell phone to your refrigerator.
Yeah, correct. No, you're right, and that is a concern because most chips today are made in Taiwan. So if Xi Jinping wants to try to use military force to take Taiwan, and there's interruption in chip production, that will be felt globally. There's no question that will be felt globally.
Yeah, but all the investments that Trump has coming in this country from other, I mean, for every $1 trillion, it's going to raise our GDP up like 1%. For every trillion that it gets,
every bit.
So, I mean, I think it's a good move. He's a businessman. I know he has a plan. I just don't. The only thing that worries me is giving the mainstream media anything to go on, and just if anything raises just a little bit, even though I know that it's going, that the day is darkest before the dawn. But I know that they're going to run with it. They're waiting for anything. They're waiting for one mistake, one thing they can run on. They're already trying it with Elon Musk and saying he got in an argument with Marco Rubio. I mean, they're looking for anything.
Well, I mean, Elon's probably got a pretty big ego, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I would say so.
So, I mean, and you do have to be careful with this too. It's not a business; it's government, and government works in a different realm than business. You just don't snap your fingers and say, "Okay, everybody, this is what I want." It just doesn't work that way. But I think a lot of good things are coming from Doge. I mean, you're looking at the U.S. aid is really. I think can be like the great first step of Doge, where they've identified so much waste, but yet they kept 1,000 programs from USAID that are beneficial and good. They're just being moved to be overseen by the State Department. So all that was a cleaning of house and really getting USAID to be efficient. It wasn't abolishing it. It was getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. You still got about 1,000 programs administered by USAID now being shifted over to be administered by the State Department, much better. So it's really, that's how it should work. You're not taking a hacks about all of this. So it's really, it's just a good first step, because as you introduce a program or policy to the American people, you better make sure it's successful. And Doge is right now wildly successful because like I said, it identified this horrendous waste fraud in just one agency. And it's got a lot more to do. Look, we should be looking at the IRS. We should be looking at, the Department of Defense. I'm a Navy veteran. I think we should have a huge Department of Defense, a big one. I want war fighters. But there's a lot of waste in that Department of Defense, a whole lot. And look at Medicare. I mean, Damon, if you look at any think tank in Washington that leans conservative, Cato, Heritage, Hoover, American Enterprise Institute, they will tell you and assure you that there is a minimum in the Medicare program annually, $60 to $100 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse just in Medicare every year. Okay. And you know who's behind a lot of that? Russian organized crime. They are very sophisticated with fraudulent billing schemes. I mean, it's bad. So you've got a huge now. What we can do when Democrats are screaming, you're going to cut Medicare. No, we're not. You're going to take all that money and you're going to, whatever you can recover from recovering and battling the waste, fraud, and abuse, $60 to $100 billion every year, you turn it right back into Medicare to help keep it solvent. You keep the American people on your side. And again, the Democrats coming down on the wrong side of the issue. So again, when you introduce the American people to the policies that you're trying to implement, it's good to have these early successes because then people buy into them. They believe it, they buy into it, and then it's easier to continue to push your domestic agenda.
Oh, you're right about that. And I'm going to play a video later. It's a short clip video. It's waste, fraud, and abuse in my mind. Somebody sent it to me. I mean, I want to laugh at it, but it's not funny. I mean, it really isn't. But I'll play that. You know what? BW, can we roll the
Okay, y'all just mad because I get 3K in food stamps. So what?
We'll play
I
it
eat
now.
all kind of snacks while I'm sitting here chilling or whatever, paying no bills. No bills. I'm on government assistance. My son back there with his snacks. Government assistance, 3K in food.
I just had to play that. My buddy sent it to me. He's like, I can't believe this. It's like, come on. I mean,
the sad part of that, Damon, is not just the waste, fraud, and abuse, but it's really the human cost of not being gainfully employed, being proficient, living a productive life. And that's the real drain with the failed welfare system that we've had. Now, we had this debate back in 1994, and it was a big one. One of the bullet points and one of the issues, one of the main points of that contract with America that the Republicans had in 1994 was to address situations like you just showed us, where the welfare system was damaging more people than it was helping, and it was destroying the black family unit, poor white family unit by incentivizing women to have babies and not have fathers around. But the human cost where you're not educating yourself, or you're not in the workforce, you're not developing skills and proficiency, or you're not pursuing a dream that you have, and you're not productive. I mean, that's the real cost. That's the real cost. And it costs money to fund these programs, but the result and what they inflict on people. One reason Republicans won big in 1994 because they said, we're doing welfare reform. We're doing welfare reform. They're going to have work requirements. You're going to be in school. You join the military. You're going to be in the workforce. You're going to get work requirements. You got about, I think, 2 years max on public assistance, and then you better be doing something with your life for your own benefit. Not to be mean, to throw people out on the street, but you've got to take the reins. You've got to become employable. You got to learn work skills, and you don't learn that if you're not in the workforce. If you're not working, if you're not pursuing an education or something. So the time now again is to revisit that issue. It's a big winning issue for Republicans. I think people will support the idea of work requirements for public assistance. Nothing wrong with saying, listen, we'll help you, but the contract has to be you're helping yourself. You're going to work, you're working part-time, you're going to school, you're doing something so you can become gainfully employed someday.
No, you're absolutely right about that. I just wanted to play a video because my buddy sent it to me. I thought it was ridiculous. But it just, I don't know. I'm waiting for this country to be back to everything like meritocracy, everything based on merit. Not just be handed things. And I think a lot of people nowadays, especially college students that have never faced any true adversity, they're grown up given everything they want, and they believe that they're owed something, and they're not. You have to earn it, and that's what made this country great. Like you went out and you fought for what you wanted, and you worked your butt off to get where you wanted to be.
You are correct, Damon. You're correct, and it's very dangerous because some Certainly not all, but many of our young people today, they have that attitude and disposition. Hey, I'm owed. I'm owed.
Yeah.
I want this. I don't want to be fired. I want to retire by the time I'm 55. I want free education. I don't want to pay for my school. I want free health care. It's like, whoa, folks, time out here. First of all, nothing's free. There's a cost. You're just shifting it to somebody else. But yeah, that's a cultural problem. That's a cultural issue where we really need to reinvigorate the American culture, the American work ethic, the rugged individual. Yes, we help our neighbors out. We have a big enough government. We're wealthy enough. We shouldn't have people sleeping on the streets, but we do need to reinculcate that, so you start at the bottom, but you can't just start at the top. And if you take a student loan out, and I have more student loans than I can shake a stick at, but when you take a loan out, the principal, you pay it back. You have to pay it back. It cannot be given to you. And so but it's the demand. I'm owed. And that's the danger there, because, you're not owed. This is how you get a class of people that look at another class and say, well, you have more than me. I'll vote for the person to office who wants to take what you have and give to me, so I don't have to go without. And that's a very dangerous mindset. We need to reinvigorate our culture, and hopefully President Trump can do that for us.
Yeah, hopefully. So another thing I want to get into as well, I talk about the border just on almost every show. So I just want to what Tom Homan's doing, and and I'm hoping that we get somebody like Spady in that removes New Jersey as a sanctuary state until the police can actually work with ICE, because they're not even allowed to do that right now.
Yeah.
But I want to just
we are going to stay in Inglewood, California right now, as two murder suspects accused of killing a Good Samaritan in Los Angeles County, California, were in the country illegally and do have lengthy criminal records. That is according to information that was obtained by Fox News. Juan Miguel Sanchez was killed February 25th in the LA suburb of Inglewood as he attempted to stop two men from stealing his neighbor's catalytic converter. The murder caught on surveillance camera that appeared to be from a nearby home. That is the victim right there on your screen. Now, the suspects, which were seen, police say in that surveillance video, those are the mugshots there, were identified by Inglewood police as Wilbur Alberto Rabinales and Jose Christian Saravia Sanchez, the two arrested by police Thursday. Police telling Fox News that Rabinales, a Guatemalan national, was arrested at least 15 times in the last few years in the country, predominantly on gun charges, grand theft, burglary, and drug charges. He does have multiple grand theft arrests, mostly for stealing catalytic converters, and past charges for multiple DUIs, conspiracy, felon in possession of a gun, possession of burglary tools, possession of meth, possession of stolen property, and felony hit and run during a police pursuit. Fox News also reporting Sanchez has been arrested at least a dozen times, mostly for grand theft, gun charges, drugs, burglary, kidnapping, possession of meth, and burglary tools. Fox has reached out to ICE, of course, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, for any additional information as details are kind of coming in. Now, the victim was shot in the chest after confronting the suspects while they were allegedly attempting to steal the catalytic converter. Again, you'll see that surveillance photo right there on your screen. Police say the suspects escaped in a car, later arrested at a motel about 15 miles east of Inglewood. The victim's sister said he would have turned 49 on April 4th. She said, quote, "You took a big part of our heart." That was in an interview with Fox 11 LA. Now, we're told the victim had left for work before 4 a.m. that morning because he wanted to get an early start at his job, where he had just been promoted while working to clean up after the Palisades fire. His sister adding, quote, "He was a big man of faith, never missed Mass on Sunday. He volunteered Sunday mornings at church, and he was the sole provider for his family. Now he's gone, leaving my sister-in-law and two sons." The family telling Fox 11 the victim had told his wife that she should leave her job while she underwent chemotherapy after being diagnosed with cancer. Again, two men here in custody. Fox News saying they are in the country illegally. The investigation, of course, still ongoing, so we'll bring you all of the information as we do.
That's beyond heartbreaking. I mean, how many, Damon, you can go back 10 to 15 years. You have a mile long list of people in the country illegally deported, snuck back in, violent past, violent criminals, histories of crime, murdering American citizens. I mean, how many times do we have to hear this? That's heartbreaking. To have your life taken from you because these scumbags. This is the result of Joe Biden's open borders, and sadly, yes, we can secure the border now, which we've done, but it's going to take a while to clean out the communities and get these people the hell out of the country.
Yeah, I know. And when I
Sad.
see something like that, I mean, I get completely pissed off. I mean, and I blame the Biden administration. I blame the Democrats. I mean, they couldn't even stand cheer for the Lincoln Riley Act.
Yeah.
And the park named after Jocelyn Nungari. When Trump talked about that, and you see Phil Murphy, he doesn't care. It's not doing anything. You see all these Democratic led cities and states that are trying to block ICE to come in to get the illegal criminals, not just people that are here illegal, been here 20 years, 30 years, they're actually going to work, but illegal criminals that are killing people like this. I mean, this guy, 49 years old, I mean, and he just walks out, tries to stop them from stealing a catalytic converter. They shoot him in the chest. That fires me up. That really pisses me off.
It should anger every American because it's not an isolated incident. I mean,
Yeah.
there are hundreds, if not thousands, of Americans that have been murdered, violently attacked, sexually assaulted. And pick your time frame: the last year, 10 years, 15 years. I mean, the open border have just allowed these criminals to come pouring into the country. They've been in and out of here 15 plus times. They're deported. We send them back. They sneak back in. We don't have the resources to get. They're running the streets, in and out of prison. We know their histories are violent. And just it's such a breakdown of the contract that the government, is first job is to protect us. It's to protect open borders for 4 years, horrible consequences. And I hate to say it, Damon, but you know what? I know some Islamic terrorists probably snuck across that border
I'm
for the last 4 years. And look out.
I know. I'm afraid of it. I mean, I think it's not a question of if; it'll be when.
Yeah,
Something happens.
when something happens, and it's just hard. I mean, what Damon? I mean, you can look at what the Customs and Border Protection (CBP) will tell you that during the Biden years, there were close to 2 million gotaways. 2 million. That's an illegal alien that was visually identified by our border officials, Border Control (CPB), between a port of entry and was not able to be apprehended and was saw entering the country. Almost 2 million of them. We don't know who they are, what they're doing here, where they came from. Are they gangs? Are they criminals? Are they terrorists? And we've got millions because of Joe Biden's open borders running through the country. And we have no idea where the hell they're at, where they came from, what they're doing here. It's mind blowing. And we still have to get out of that. I mean, we can control the border, but to actually get the deportation up to the level it should be, that will probably take some time. And unfortunately, let's hope that nothing happens in the interim.
Yeah, and it gets me. I mean, it said they were arrested multiple times for drug charges, gun charges here in the United States.
Yeah,
and they're released.
It just blows your mind. Like, what was the purpose of having an open border? I mean, there has to be a purpose to destroy the country.
Exactly.
The hell was I mean, why would you allow millions of people to come into the country? That you can't vet. You don't know where they're from. We have housing, jobs. Are they criminals? Where do they live? We're on the street. It's insanity. It's like there's a plot to destroy the culture and civilization.
I truly believe there is, and I would just say thank God Trump got in.
Yeah,
I don't think Trump is part of that establishment whatsoever. That's why they tried to impeach him. They tried to bankrupt him. They tried to throw him in jail, and they tried to kill him.
They tried to kill him. And I don't think they're done yet.
Yeah, I know. He's got to be careful.
I don't think they're done yet. And, I mean, I'm not surprised there are threats against Supreme Court justices, threats against Elon Musk. And it's just the way they operate. I mean, it wasn't really. I mean, you have to look at Antifa and BLM and these Palestinian rights groups. I mean, they're pretty nasty. They're pretty violent, and they don't like to be told sit down and shut up. So they're here to make trouble, and I would expect it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Columbia University. U.S. Immigration agents arrested Mahmoud Khalil. He's a Palestinian graduate student involved in pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University. So, he's anti-Israel activist, and because of all this, and finally, Trump he pulled 400. I think they get like $1 billion a year in federal funding, which is crazy. But
Yeah.
he just gained $400 million from them because they allowed this to go on.
Hey, Damon, look at your Ivy League schools. Do you know how many billions of dollars in endowment the Ivy League schools have?
Yeah, a lot.
There's a group called the National Association of Scholars, NAS, National Association of Scholars. Go online. They have a spreadsheet and a database they keep of all the foreign entities and foreign governments that are hostile to us, like the Communist government of China. Okay, how much money they donate to each Harvard, Columbia, Yale, how much money they donate throughout academia all over the country. Now, they give this money not because they're promoting education, there's strings attached. The Communist government of China pumps a lot of money into American universities, okay, because they want a narrative told. They don't want to talk about anything bad about the communist government or the Uyghurs or the genocide or the murder or the repression or the censorship. They do this because they want to control the narrative and control the perception of what people see and think of the communist government in China. So that's something we have to look at too. You yank 400 million from them, that's great. We got to keep going. They've got billions of dollars in endowment they can use. They could have kids go there for free. The hell are you paying $70,000 a year for? Utter insanity. Yeah, they're American academia. I mean, it's world class, but they have allowed themselves to be pervaded by this very violent strand of anti-Semitic and anti-American, anti-capitalist sentiments. And these students, they take over buildings. They openly call for the murder of Jews and the overthrow of the government of the United States. That always came out of BLM and Antifa in 2020. That sounded like an insurrection, if you ask me. It's a problem. It's a real problem because a lot of our economic or academic institutions are kind of hooked on this money coming from, Saudi Arabia pumps a lot of money in for the same thing. They want to make sure that what's taught in these universities to young American student minds is rosy pictures of, these countries, which we know really not to be the case. But it's a big deal, and 400 million is a good start. It needs to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about it last week. I brought it up a long time ago when I first heard Ben Carson talk about it, and I didn't know what it was. This was a couple years ago. Last week, Eric was on the show, and he brought it up. He was still going through it on his podcast. But I don't know if you're familiar with January 10th, 1963. It's a communist agenda that Congress talked about. It had it's roughly about around like 50 different items on how to destroy America from within. Congress. And one of the major ones is take over the media, infiltrate the schools and colleges. And I mean that's what they've been doing. And I'm going to
No
do a
doubt.
show on all of it and break down. I mean, I might have to split it in different segments, but there's a lot. But you
so
read
much
it,
of
you're
it.
like, wow, you're like this is 1963, and this is all going on right now. Like everything they have in
The
there.
one thing about the Marxist left, Damon, they're very patient. They're not in a hurry. They can be very patient, very incremental, lay low. And the culture war in America really began in the mid 60s. You really started in 1965 and that time frame and that's the beginning of the Democrat Party kind of beginning to become the party that was no longer the JFK and FDR World War II Depression era party. And that's really, it all lines up if you look at it. I mean, the facts are there. That's when that party really started to untether itself from the union blue collar worker, the Northeastern Catholic voter, the working man and woman, the small business owner, the Depression era World War II generation, JFK supporters. That's where they really started to undo it. And that's Ted Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson saying, okay, first and foremost is immigration. We're too Eurocentric. They decided there were too many white people here. So they were going to open up our immigration system to bring in a lot of what you would consider third world. And that's fine because anybody can be an American. That's beautiful about our country. The problem is we need, diversity. You hear about diversity as our strength. Let me tell you what our strength is when it comes to immigration: assimilation. You come to this country, you come legally, and you assimilate. You don't show up illegally. You don't demand public benefits, and you don't demand to be hyphenated, and you don't demand to be catered to. You come to America. We have every right to ask that you come legally, and then when you're here, you assimilate. You add something to our American culture, our American family. We're the most diverse country in the world, I think, by far. Israel is also very diverse. You hear about these Palestinian activists talk about Israel being an apartheid state. Israel is one of the most multiracial and multi-ethnic countries and successful ones in the world.
Yeah, you're correct.
1/5, 20% of Israeli population are Arab.
Yeah, Arab Muslim.
Arab, yeah. And it's like, folks, you got to get the facts right. But they're blinded. They're blinded with hate. It's anti-U.S. It's anti-Israel, and man, they feel, I think they felt under Joe Biden that they could really inflict a lot of damage on this country because we had no control of our border. We were losing control of our children. We were attacking parental rights. We had a corrupt and bloated government. Changing now, thankfully. I think we woke up in time. Thankfully, thank God for that. But academia is a big issue because Hollywood, you talk about academia and education, it really starts with the issue of parental rights, happening now, the battle for parental rights. And again, Democrats on the wrong side of that issue. They're taking the side of, let's mutilate children. Let's keep parents out of the loop. And I can't even imagine that mindset. It's a sickening crime. And then you talk about how academia is openly hostile to this country now, with its faculty that's very far left-leaning. They have, they certainly have sympathy toward the Palestinian groups of the world, the BLMs, the Antifas. Jewish students have to run from class to class because they don't feel safe. And the money they take from foreign governments is well known. Again, if your listeners, NAS, National Association of Scholars, they keep a database, a spreadsheet of who donates to what colleges and universities and where it comes from. Saudi Arabia, China, all these different countries. And it shows you how much money they're pumping in to our institutions. And it's for a reason. It's to jade and control the narrative and shape the perception.
No, it definitely is. You're absolutely right there. So, all right, I had another clip for this segment, but I'm going to skip over it. So I just want to move on to segment 3, and we'll roll right into the first clip in segment
America's
3.
Pulse Network. The mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. But America is waking up because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. The America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. APN's The Pulse, hosted by Alexandra, Damon, Elena, and Seth. So tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X/Twitter, Rumble, Truth Social, Facebook, and YouTube. Join the revolution. Because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
Generation fighters take the stand from. We reclaim the land, grit and glory in every strand. In Jersey Shore, we make our stand.
Well, the deadline to fund the government is 1 week from today. It's ticking down. And remember, just weeks before Trump took office, this was in December, Democrats accused Republicans of wanting a shutdown.
House Republicans have been ordered to shut down the government and hurt everyday Americans all across this country.
Republican needs to stop playing politics. with a government shutdown.
Thanks to Republicans, we're less than 48 hours away from a Christmas shutdown.
And it'll be their fault that Americans don't get disaster relief, that Americans don't get their Social Security checks.
I want us to take a moment to at least appreciate the fact that we've been able to stop another Republican shutdown of the government.
They were dire. Social Security is not going to go out, they said. Now, according to Politico, we're just 4 months from that moment. Democrats appear ready to force a shutdown. Listen to this quote. Democrats are itching for a fight, Politico says. Senior House Democrats have spent recent days privately surveying their members about whether they would be willing to shut down the government. So far, they're encountering little resistance. Usually, shutdown saber rattling originates on the fringes. This time, however, the foment is coming from the leadership table itself. Speaker Johnson, I'm struck by that because that is very true. Fringes advocate for this, and then it just kind of trickles up. But now this is trickling down. And I'm curious if you've heard about this, number one. And number two, as someone in leadership, have you ever tried to orchestrate a shutdown?
Of course not. Democrats don't get irony, right? All the tape is about what they're doing right now. It's a lack of principle, and it's very dangerous. A shutdown doesn't behoove anyone. And the fact that they're trying to orchestrate it illustrates what we said earlier in the first block, that they are flailing. They don't have a vision, a platform.
Okay, you can cut it there. So I sort of played that clip earlier when we were talking about the shutdown.
Yeah.
But I had it in this segment. But it's like they're unbelievable, man, and they really are.
Damon, this is
amaze me.
What you just showed is the reason why the vast majority of Americans do not like politicians. And warranted, they don't. It's always the double talk, the double standard, the games. Nobody seems to want to sit down and work through things and get something done. And especially right now, it's the Trump derangement syndrome crowd that drives the Democrat Party. They're really doubling down on stupidity because they're just falling on the wrong side of every issue. They still want open borders. They still want the waste, fraud, and abuse to go unchecked. They seem to come down on the side of the criminal, not the victim. They're still anti-Trump to the point where it's so detrimental to them, to their own party. People are just tired of it. Get to work, do something. Look, if you can't get your way, you go win another election or something. But it's just you see why the American people have a very low opinion of politicians, and it's warranted. It's warranted.
Yeah, you're right. So anyway, so this segment I want to call NJ Doge, and the reason why I named it that is when we were at the event with Spady yesterday, I asked him about New Jersey Doge. So I just want to, I guess we could just roll like both clips in a row, and then we'll talk about
home prices spiked to a point where no one can afford to buy a house, and every other tax went up. They have a higher cost of living than we do. But it's also in energy. Your energy costs are going up. What's your electric bill? Mine went up to $900 a month. $900. I don't live in a mansion. $900 bucks nuts. Why is it so high?
He will soon.
Because
Damon Gallo, Jersey Shore Podcast, America's Pulse Network. I hope so. Do you support like a state-run Department of Government Efficiency, like a Doge state-run?
Tell you a quick story. Glad you said that.
Everything does sound like it.
Yeah, I know. That's not.
I went to the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce. They do an annual.
Sorry about the
walk to
camera. I was
Washington.
asking a question.
Everybody gets on the Amtrak train. You get to Washington, and we did I didn't take the train because it's chaos. But I spoke at the candidate forum. So they had about 8 of us, and there were maybe 500 members of the chamber in the audience. They went through each person. They said, well, what's the number one priority you're going to do on day one? I'm like, well, day one's pretty busy. We have a lot of executive orders to write. But one of the big, most important thing is I'm going to implement NJ Doge. And I said, I am now, and I'm kind of proud of this, the only candidate for governor to be raucously booed at a chamber event. And you know why? Because they're not business owners in that crowd. They're lawyers and lobbyists and consultants and all the people on the take. And they booed. And then they booed louder when I said I'm going to get on the phone with Elon Musk and say, Elon, come on in and help us. We looked at, if we can take those, 7 inspectors that went to the job site of 15 workers and cut that down to one, how much money are you going to save? How much money in Medicare fraud are we paying for? How much money are we paying bureaucrats who are sleeping in their cars for a 3-hour lunch in the state parking lot? We know that the abuse in the system is horrific. We're going to cut $1 billion out of the Rutgers budget, day one. That is a red line veto. We're going to lower the cost of public schools by billions by infusing charter schools. And another thing, we're going to have money follows the child, and I'm going to fight for education savings accounts so that you control your money. And I want to have a homeschool tax credit and what I call a work-at-home mom tax credit. Here's what I mean by that. Not mom working a corporate job remotely. Mom being a mom and taking care of a house and doing the job, which if you ask any mom who's ever raised kids, that is one of the hardest jobs out there. We are going to
I love that. Hope you're watching, Heather.
monetary value to the job of being mom. And that value will be deducted off the household income. So anybody that chooses to stay home and raise their kids is going to have a huge tax incentive to do that. It's time to change everything in New Jersey.
Just like child care credit.
What's that?
I guess it's similar to the child care
The
credit.
problem with the
Okay, you can cut it there. So yes, that was Bill Spadey yesterday. I'm sorry for the bad. I'm not my producer. I don't film that well. As I'm asking the question, I realized I had my phone down and I'm looking at other people, but you still hear what you had to say. But yeah, no, I like what Bill has to say. I like his ideas. He seems to me like a candidate that doesn't just say, "I'm going to cut taxes in New Jersey." Okay, how? You know, but he lays it out there and he has the ideas of how he's going to accomplish it and where the money's going to come from, what he's going to do, and I respect that about Bill.
I think he's going to run very well in this primary, Damien. As far as a Doge, yeah, I think any rational, sane person would welcome that. And of course, you would see the same thing play out in New Jersey that you do nationally. Democrats would oppose it. The Democrats have been the majority party in the New Jersey State Assembly and the New Jersey State Senate for almost 25 years now, uninterrupted. That's almost 3 decades. And they've had power in Trenton. And we need a Doge, I think, to say the least. We need a look-see at where this money's going. Jim McGreevey, when he was governor in 2001, he proposed a budget that was about $20 billion. Okay. The last budget Phil Murphy just proposed, it's almost $60 billion. It's $40 billion more. Now, I haven't seen any of that money. I'm presuming you haven't either. And I think most New Jerseyans didn't get a piece of that because not only are they funding Trenton's $60 billion ATM machine, you have to turn around and then pay your property taxes to fund your education system. So yeah, we need a serious restructuring of how our state government operates. Very difficult to do. We have to win elections. We've got to get Republicans who are committed to it elected, nominated, and elected, and it's going to be tough. So, even if Billy, I think, is going to run well this primary. He's a lot of name recognition. He was behind the microphone at 101.5 for years. He's been on the news before, and I think he's got a lot of name recognition. Certainly enough where he's a known quantity, and I think he'll run very well. I think we're also looking at we have a tsunami that's going to hit the Republican and the Democrat primary in a couple of weeks. And that is the law that just was recently passed by the Democrats and signed into law by Governor Murphy that basically tripled the required number of signatures for a petition to run for office. And I'm hoping that's challenged in court on First Amendment grounds. I think it erects an unreasonably and burdensome, very high barrier to people entering the political system to run and seek office. I hope that's the case. But that's a law now that's really putting, I think, the downward pressure on people. I think most of the candidates in the race will probably drop out because they won't be able to attain that many signatures. And you might be left with 2 or 3 people, Bramnick, Chitterelli, Spadea, Ed Durham may be able to pull that many, but I'm not sure. And if that's the case, if you're left with 3, in my opinion, if you're left with Chitterelli, Spadea, and Bramnick, you would say Billy by far is clearly the conservative. Chitterelli and Bramnick would probably split the same vote, possibly. And I think there would be a lot of pressure from the political class in New Jersey for Bramnick to drop out so that it's just kind of a one-on-one matchup. So there's a lot of shakeup coming in the primaries here in a couple weeks. And basically because candidates will not have the required signatures and will not be able to run.
Yeah, I know. I had Justin Barbera on
Yeah.
about a week and a half ago, and he is trying to fight that as well in court.
Yeah, governor candidate, sure.
Yeah, because he's just a regular guy. Just took a shot, underdog, and I respect that about him.
Same here.
And
Same
I
here, yeah.
was even trying to help him get signatures, get some clips cut for him, because I believe in that. Because I was the same type of person. He's in
Yeah.
construction. They just I really respect what he's doing.
Yeah,
And
good stuff.
yeah, so I mean, hopefully he gets his name out there enough for just to be recognized and maybe run for something else. I don't think he's going to win. That's why I'm back in Spadia, but I respect what he's doing. I would like to help. I'll help him out as much as I possibly can. I think he's a good guy.
Well, it's good that you had him on your show, and the job again is to, and podcasters have to pick this up too, is bring everybody on, let everybody speak. It's to promote that marketplace of ideas. A lot of the problem I have, Damon, with your standard conventional news outlets is they decide early before anything happens. They decide who's viable, who's not, who can win, and who can't. And that's right. That's not right at all. So it does. If somebody wants to put themselves out there and be a serious candidate, they should be treated that way.
No, you're absolutely right. And one thing I want to mention about Spadia, one thing I noticed about him, his wife is with him at every event.
Yeah, nice to see.
Yeah, so if you see he said I believe yesterday or no, yesterday, day before, he said he was married for 30 years. I've been married 19 years. But
Yeah.
if you have if you can have a commitment to your wife for that long, and I look at Jack. I mean, Jack didn't have that much of a commitment to his wife, as everyone knows. Apparently, everyone knows about the rough divorce and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
but if you see somebody that can make a commitment, to their wife and their family, I mean, it makes me think they can make a commitment to what they're running upon and make a commitment to the state and actually deliver. What they're
It's a plus. I mean, you talk about family values, commitment, relationship. Yeah, it's an absolute plus. Unfortunately, some marriages don't make it. I'm assuming we'll hear a lot more about Jack's personal life in April and May. I'm guessing. It's a shame, but the tenor of the primary, I think right now, Damon, is a little on the mudslinging and nasty side, and the debate that the candidates had was, I think, awful.
Horrible.
That was horrible. And I will give you the words of one of the county chairs that was there. And I won't say who, but they told me they were, quote, mortified, and that a person who was a registered Republican came up to them after the debate and said, "I'm switching parties," which is horrible. We don't switching to like an
that part I
independent.
didn't hear. I think I know who you're talking about. Said mortified, but I didn't hear that part. They're switching parties. Wow.
Yeah, like not the chair, a person that was at the debate.
Yeah, I'm just saying the chair. I think I know the chair you're talking about, but I didn't know somebody came up and said they were going to switch parties.
Or switch to independent. I mean, it was bad. I mean, this is where we could hurt ourselves this November. I mean, we picked up ground this past election, but we and I preached a lot, Damon, when I spoke at different events. We have to inspire people to step into our column. We have to inspire people with big Reagan-esque ideas. We have to inspire people to vote for us, or they're not going to. They can be a disgruntled Democrat voter. They can be apathetic and sit home. They can vote for a third party. They have other options. They don't have to come to the Republican table. But our job is to attract them with ideas and be optimistic and confident and resonate with them with the policy platforms that they can identify with. And so it's I always said that we have to inspire people, and if we don't, we're in trouble. And if inspiration doesn't come from what we saw at the debate, where it was just one interrupted scream match after another. And it's a shame because, these guys have, they're serious. They're working hard. They got good ideas. Talk about them.
Yeah.
They need to talk about them.
It seems like sometimes Republicans can't get out of their own way.
What is it?
Yeah.
They call it the circular firing squad.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
circular firing squad. We've Damon, if you look at the numbers from this past presidential election, and you had mentioned it earlier that President Trump lost the state by 5 points. Now he lost it by 14 points in 2020.
Mhm.
So at the presidential level, we moved the needle 9 points, which is huge, going from a 14-point loss to a 5-point loss. But if you look at the numbers, most of that ground that we picked up, Damon, were Democrats not voting Democrat. It was voters not voting Democrat. Not so much that we picked up voters. We picked up some, which was good. We picked up about 100,000, which is very,
100,000, yeah.
very good news. But if all the Democrats that did not vote Democrat stepped into our column, we would have won. We would have won the state. You would have had a Republican senator, and Donald Trump would have taken the state. So it's more of a function right now that the Democrats just didn't vote for Democrat and they sat home or voted for a third party. We still have that gap to fill, and that's ideas. That's doing it the way Reagan did, in my opinion. That's why when I run, I had a Senate pledge and a congressional pledge when I sought the House seats in 08 and 2010. So people know that I'll be the same candidate in November that I hold out. I will in June. And that we have a set of ideas and principles that we run on and want to predicate our policies on. So there's a gap there we still need to fill. Scott Pressler's here doing wonderful things. I was up in Mercer County a couple of weeks ago. He had a great event there. He came to Medford, New Jersey, here, my hometown, last week and a half. And I have a question. It's great what he's doing. It's good to know that we can get a real statewide effort to register people to vote. I have a question. Where the hell have our county organizations and county chairs been for the last 30 years? Why have they not been doing this? What of our county organizations' job number one should be to register voters, and they've been absent.
You are correct in that. And like I said before, I ran for Congress in CD1, and there hasn't been a Republican congressman in CD1 in 58 years.
Wow.
And the two county chairs that were in at the time when I ran, they're no longer there. And the two new county chairs, I think they're doing okay, but I think they need to do a little bit more here in Gloucester County, Camden County, and they really need to push a lot harder because people are relying on them to get people out to vote. And it just, I don't know. I just look at myself all the time when I want to accomplish something. I've got tunnel vision, and that's what it is. I try to do my job to the best of my ability. So if you're elected to something and then people are relying on you to get people out to vote, you really have to push hard. And I get it.
It's tough. It's a tough. Think about it. If you're a chair, look, you ran in the district, you know how hard it is, how Democrat it is. Let's say you're a chair of Camden or Gloucester, or not so much Gloucester, but Camden. That's an uphill battle. That's a tough row, and it's going to take a while to maybe change the culture of the county politics and get some wins out there. And I hope that Kim can do that. I think she's doing some good things, but it's that gap we still need to fill. We picked up some ground, but we do need to be more active in getting people. We can't just say, well, Democrats are bad. Next election, Democrats are really bad. Next election, they're really, really bad. At some point, people say, okay, why should I be active and come out and vote for you? And we do that with ideas. And like I said, with ideas and a lot of Trumpian ideas that resonated with people. Donald Trump took 1.9 million votes out of this state in 2024. That is the most a Republican president has ever taken, Republican candidate for president has ever pulled out of this state. 1.9 million. And he came here one time. And
that was the most ever?
1.9 million is the most Republican votes for a president in the history of our state, history of the country. And look, he came here once. We were both there on the beach in Wildwood. He came in May. And I was hoping he would come back. He went to New York a few times. I hope he would come back, but he couldn't, I guess with campaign constraints. But that's 1.9 million is good. Now, it's not enough to win, but that's the most ever. And right now, when I meet and talk to groups in Mercer County, Middlesex, Gloucester, Camden, Burlington, right now today, we have the highest number of registered Republicans in the history of New Jersey, in the history of our country. 1.6 million registered Republicans. We're still outnumbered. Unfortunately, we still have about 800,000 more registered Democrats. 800,000 is a hell of a lot. We got a long way to go. But that 1.6, okay, if we get a turnout, that's a winner for most statewide races because of turnout. It's not enough for president. We got to pop like 2 million, 2.1 million to start getting in the president. But 1.6 million is enough to win a Senate seat. It's enough to win the governor's race. Okay, so the kind of tables are tipping a little bit. We're still outnumbered, but there's enough of us if we're unified and we get out, and we can pull this off. Well, we can see a Republican governor often, maybe not once in a blue moon. And then we have to figure out a way to get back control of the legislature because, look, they're controlling our laws. Democrats have been in the majority in Trenton for 25 years now and uninterrupted. And that has to change. But it's ground up, grassroots, a type of campaign that you ran, knocking on doors. And it'll take some time. And we also need the top down. Next year, we'll have a new chairman. I think Bob Eugen will be finished with his tenure and term. And it's interesting to see who that will be. And we'll have to wait and see. We don't know yet. But, we'll have to just keep chipping away. But, I just was amazed at what Scott Pressler is doing. And I'm thinking, where the heck are our county chairs? Why have they not been doing this for the past 2 or 3 decades? So we wouldn't have been in the hole that we're in. And that tells you something where they were just dormant. And, we're paying a price for it now. But we'll see. There's always a tomorrow, a brighter one, we hope.
Or as Eric Simpkin said last week, they're part of the Uniparty. Most people will call them rhinos, but he calls them the Uniparty.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, a lot of times you can see a distinction between the parties, but many times it's hard to see a distinction between the parties. And that's true. It's really true. And, Jersey's tough. I mean, I talk to legislators and they all tell me the same thing. Look, we just don't have the votes. I get it. We just don't have the votes. But what are we doing to get the votes? In 2021, the Republican Party picked up, I think, 8 or 9 legislative seats, which was the first time in I think well over a decade. Great. We gave them all back 2 years later. Nobody really put their shoulder into it, but that tells me people will come out and vote Republican. Got to be active. Got to get them with ideas and principles, and having good candidates helps. And it takes a lot of hard work, but that's underway. We're seeing a lot of good things at the grassroots level. I'm interested to see who we chair next year for the Republican State Committee after Bob Eugen steps down, and we'll see what happens. But
all right, man. Well, listen, we're going to go to our last segment. It's a quick one. It's going to be the JSP Award and the Loser of the Week Award.
It's not me.
No, it's not. But no, we'll go to the next segment. And when I bring up the JSP Award, it's going to be a local guy and be a picture that'll go up on screen, and you'll see what it is. So let's roll the next segment.
Okay.
All right, so we're back to segment 4. We're going to give out the Jersey Shore Patriot Award first. And right there, you see that picture. His name is Frank Cedar. He lives in Deptford. He actually lives about 2 minutes down the road from the studio. That's one of the memorials that he's done. He's an artist, sculptures, and he has many memorials that he's done in Deptford and Woodbury. He's actually got one coming up for Schisler, the officer that was killed in Deptford. He's working on now.
Very sad.
And, So, and he's got. So basically, what I want to do, I want to do his story that he has behind all these memorials that are hit right at home with him because they're personal, a lot of them. And he's actually designing a Trump library too, which is pretty cool. But I've got it in the hands of Steve Bannon, and hopefully he gets it to Trump. But we'll go down that road. But I want to do a docu-series on all the different memorials and the story behind him. So he gets the Jersey Shore Patriot Award. He's a great guy. Somebody introduced him to me that was on the committee, David Aber, and he just said, I want to get this Trump library in the hands of somebody. And I'm like, I don't know if I could do it. I said, I'll try my best. I go to events. If I meet somebody, I'll try. But I went around. He took me around and showed me all his different memorials, and I want to do a docu-series on each one of them and have them in studio and talk about it because they're very heart touching. And he had me crying when he was telling me about this story about the soldier there. My wife was there; she started crying. I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna kill me, Frank. But
Good to
yes,
see. Good to know.
yeah. So so we'll have the docu-series coming up on him. We're going to put it all together.
Nice.
Yeah, so he gets the Jersey Shore Patriot Award for the week. So
That's
now
awesome.
I'll go to the Loser of the Week award. And the Loser of the Week, I'm sorry, I'm going to give it to Jack Chitterelli. And the only reason why I'm going to give him Loser of the Week is because he didn't get my support, and it's going to Bill Spadea.
Right.
So, not talking bad about him. I'm just saying he lost out because Spadea sold me. So I'm going with Spadea.
All right.
That's the only reason why he's getting that.
Well, Jack is look. A lot of people believe in Jack, and they think he's our best chance to win. And
Yeah, I will back him if he wins. I'm right behind him. But I'm just saying he lost out on me because I'm going with Spadea in the primary.
Did you tell the Spadea camp you've endorsed him?
Oh yeah. We had a conversation on Saturday on the way out. Yeah. So, and I'm trying to help him out with a few other things as well.
Good.
So hopefully they go through and.
Our Pinelands Republican Club endorsed Bill Spadea. Our Pinelands Republican Club endorsed him in late January. Ocean County and Mercer County have endorsed him. New Jersey Right to Life has endorsed him. New Jersey or National Right to Life has also endorsed him. So he's tearing it up. He'll run very well. I'm sure of it.
So yeah, so we'll see how it goes. And then so I just want to say, this is the Jersey Shore podcast where we air on Mondays and Fridays at 8 p.m. We're part of the America's Pulse Network, APN. You can go and look at the website, americaspulsenetwork.com. Also, I have my Jersey Shore radio show on 92.1 WVLT every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. And Justin, if you can tell people where they can find you.
I still have my Facebook page up on all my social media. My website that I used for my Senate run in 2024, and I do intend to run again for the Republican nomination for the June of 26 primary, which is for the U.S. Senate seat that's now held by Cory Booker. Cory's a career politician, and we know how far left he is. So I'll be seeking that nomination again, and you can reach me at www.jerseyjustin4senate.org, jerseyjustin4senate.org. And I've got a Facebook page, Murphy for Senate. And we look forward to always having people chime in on our threads and share thoughts. And we'll keep doing the grassroots, keep invisible, see how we do with the governor's race this year. And then I plan on announcing probably Thanksgiving weekend later this year that I'll be seeking the nomination again.
Okay, that'd be awesome. I'd love to have you on then, and I'd love to have you on in between as well.
Well, I look forward to it, and it's a great show you're doing. And anytime you let me know.
So, all right, you got it, man. Thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Keep up the good work, Damon. You're doing the Lord's work. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, America. Thank you very much. God bless. Have a good night.
Take care.
Jersey Shore will win this fight. No more tears, just righteous pride. In the streets our spirits reside. Unity strong, we walk this line. One big voice, it's our time. Jersey Shore, we got the fight. Stand together through the night. America first, raising the flag. We ain't never gonna lag. Shore, we reclaim the land. Grit and glory in every strand. In Jersey Shore, we make our stand.
America's Pulse Network. The mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. But America is waking up because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. The America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. APN's The Pulse, hosted by Alexandra, Damon, Elena, and Seth. So tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X/Twitter, Rumble, Truth Social, Facebook, and YouTube. Join the revolution. Because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.